Guys, new YouTube, it's your man George Page coming to you live on YouTube. Well, this happened yesterday. We had lost a real legend and a hero to the civil rights movement. Reverend Joseph Lowery died at the age of 98. And if you don't know this gentleman, he was one of the right-hand man on the side of Dr. Martin Luther King during the early days of the civil rights movement. He was just one of his personal aides and a close friend. And it's hard to lose. Like, he was there to fight for what we as black people are still struggling today to be acknowledged, to be accepted, to have to be part of this country. Currently now it seems like is a strong anti black movement, and it's just, really growing from the top and coming down to the bottom. But anyway, Dr. Reverend Joseph E. Lowery, a veteran civil rights leader who helped the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King found the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and fought against racial discrimination, died Friday. A family statement said he was 98 years old. A charismatic and fiery preacher, Lowery led the SCLC for 2 decades, restoring the organization's financial stability and pressuring businesses not to trade with South Africa's apartheid regime. Before retiring in 1997, Lowery considered the Dean of Civil Rights Veterans. He lived to celebrate a November 2008 milestone that few of his movement colleagues thought they would ever witness: the election of the first African-American president. An emotional victory celebration for the president-elect Barack Obama in Atlanta, Lowery said, "America tonight is the process of being born again." An early and autistic, I'm just gonna say, a supporter of Obama over then Democrat opponent Hillary Clinton, Lowery also gave the prediction at Obama's inauguration. Benediction, sorry. "We thank you for empowering thy servants, our 44th president, to inspire our nation to believe that, yes, we can work together to achieve a more perfect union," he said. In 2009, Obama awarded Lowery the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest silver honor. Yeah, and see, people like that deserve it. Not people like Rush Limbaugh. He don't deserve that medal. But men like him and Dr. King, Muhammad Ali, Rosa Parks, people who fought, for freedom deserve this. Not, scumbags like, ever since he got that award, it's got dirty. In another high-profile moment, Lowery drew standing ovation at the 2006 funeral of Dr. King's widow, Coretta Scott King, when he criticized the war in Iraq, saying, "For war, billions more, but no more for the poor." The comment also drew headshakes from the president, George Bush, and his father, former President George H. Walker Bush, who were seated before the pulpit. You know what? Yeah, y'all should be ashamed of yourself, because those two dummies got in the war for nothing. The father did the war and didn't get anything out of it. The son did the war and they made a mess. Lowery's involvement in civil rights grew naturally out of his Christian faith. He often preached that the radical discrimination in housing, employment, and health care was at the odds with fundamental Christian values, such as human worth and the brotherhood of man. And you listen now how these evangelical nut jobs, how they act, and the idea of God was mostly Jesus was to help every man, no matter what, who they from. There were no borders. And it's sad now today that, that's thrown out the window. It's about America first. It's about this, about that. It's crap. "I never felt your ministry should be totally devoted to making a heavenly home. I thought it should also be devoted to making your home here heavenly," he once said. Lowery remained active in fighting issues such as war, poverty, and racism. long after retiring and survived prostate cancer and throat surgery after he beat Jim Crow. He had lost a stalwart of the civil rights movement, and we have lost a stalwart of the civil rights movement, and I have lost a friend and mentor, House Majority Whip, U.S. Representative James E. Clyburn. Now, you know James Clyburn. He was one of the, he supports Joe Biden, but I think he should really support Bernie Sanders. But you know how it is. It's everybody's friends, whatever. Now, his wit and candor inspired my generation to use civil disobedience to move the needle on liberty and justice for all. It was his life works and his life well lived. Former President Bill Clinton remembered walking with Lowery across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama on the 35th anniversary of the Bloody Sunday. Our country has lost a brave, visionary leader in the struggle for justice and a champion of its promise still unrealized, of equality for all Americans. Throughout his his good life, John Lowery's commitment to speaking truth to power never wavered, even in hottest fires. His wife, Evelyn Gibson Lowery, who worked alongside her husband of nearly 70 years, served as head of the SCLC Women, died in 2013. I'll miss you, Uncle Joe. You finally made up to Aunt Evelyn again. King's daughter, Bernice King, said it in a tweet Friday night. Lowery was pastor of Wharton Street Methodist Church in Mobile, Alabama in the 1950s when he met King, who then lived in Montgomery, Alabama. Lowery's meeting with King, the Reverend Ralph David Abernathy, and the other civil rights activists led to the SCLC's formation in 1957. The group became a leading force in the civil rights struggle of the 60s. Lowery became SCLC in 1977 following the recognition of Abernathy, who had taken the job after King was assassinated in 1968. He took over SCLC, that was very deeply in debt and losing members rapidly. Lowery helped the organization survive and guided it on a new course and embraced more mainstream social and economical policies. Kwesaski said that Lowery once led more marches than been in the trenches more than anyone since Martin. He was arrested in 1983 in North Carolina for protesting the dumping of toxic waste in a predominantly black community. In 1985 in Washington, will demonstrate against apartheid. He called 1971 confrontation in Decatur, Alabama, when he and others were protesting the case of mentally disabled black man charged with rape. He called the bullets whizzed inches above his head, and a group of Klan members confront him. I could hear them go whoosh, Lowery said. I never forget that I almost died 24 miles from where I was born. That's courage. That's courage. Yeah, that's the problem, and I don't think we have leaders now who had that type of courage anymore. We don't, and it's hard to lose this one. In the mid-90s, he led boycott that persuade the Winn-Dixie grocery chain to stop selling South African canned food and fresh fish when the nation was in grip of apartheid. He also continued his urge blacks to exercise their hard-won rights by registering to vote. Black people needed to understand that the right to vote was not a gift of our political system, but came as a result of blood, sweat, and tears, he said in 1985. Like King, Lowery juggled his civil rights work with ministry. He pastored United Methodist Church in Atlanta for decades and continued preaching long after retiring. Born in Huntsville, Alabama in 1921, Joseph Eccles Lowery grew up in a Methodist church where his great-grandfather, the Reverend Howard Eccles, was the first black pastor. Lowery's father, a grocery store owner, often protests racism in the community. After college, Lowery edited a newspaper and taught school in Birmingham, but the idea of becoming a minister just kept gnawing and gnawing at him. He said after marrying Evelyn Gibson, a Memphis preacher's daughter, he began his first pastorate in Birmingham in 1948. In 1998 interview, Lowery said he was optimistic that the true radical equality would one day be achieved. I believe that the final truth of righteousness has said that the Bible says, whipping may endure for a night, but weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. A member of Alpha Pi Alpha fraternity, Lowery is survived by his three daughters, Yvonne Kennedy, Karen Lowery, and Sheretta Lowery. He died at home in Atlanta from natural causes unrelated to the coronavirus outbreak, the family said. Now, this is a great man. You know, he fought, you know, for rights for people of color, our people, to be treated as equals. And he stood alongside another great man, Dr. King. And now black, we feel we got so much more, but we're still fighting. You know, we still try to struggle. We still try to be recognized as equals. But now with the current administration, the current system, you know, it just seemed like we're just going backwards. I remember years ago, there was a candidate, if you remember him, Bob Dole. And Bob Dole was running against Bill Clinton in 96 presidency. And then Clinton said, you know, Bob Dole said that we're going back to the 50s. And that's how it's like now under Donald Trump. We're going back to the 50s. We're going backwards. We're not going forward, black people. Or we get these little, you know, things here and there, but they don't, little treats don't mean nothing. We want the whole piece of the pie. And that's what the late Reverend Lowery wanted to do. That's what he was doing. He was fighting. And, you know, I wish more of us could have the more guts and the desire to fight for our rights as Americans. But it is what it is. And some of us have gotten too complacent. Well, rest in peace to Reverend Lowery, and I hope you're in a better place. It's your man, George Page. Like, subscribe. Don't subscribe. I'm out.